What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Rance, aka Ray Cash. We're back at you once again with a new episode of the Outsiders Edge edition of the SMC podcast. Our boy Caleb is on a bit of a hiatus. We're not going to tell you we fired him, but no, we didn't fire him. We're just joking. But it's me and Carl again. Carl, what's going on?
Not much, man. What's going on with you? I don't know why I asked that because you can't answer and I'm trying to talk.
Yeah,
Completely
and we've been talking for
ridiculous.
like an hour before this, so yeah. You don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. We fired Caleb for real. It's fine. And we brought someone way better. So it's
We're
no big
joking.
deal.
We're joking. Caleb isn't fired. He quit. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're
And
joking. We're joking.
we found a replacement. So it's going to be fine. It's going to be much more listenable. Is that a word?
Listenable? That works.
I'm showing my Southern heritage by saying things like that.
Well,
So,
technically, we all from the South. All three of us.
That's true. That's true. So I'm gonna just, you know what? I'm gonna let her introduce herself because I'm really excited. We haven't had a woman on the show before, and this is a pretty big deal for us. I'm pretty excited about it. We've been trying to get that perspective, so I'm going to let her just introduce herself to the world. I'm sure plenty of people that listen to us probably know her anyway, but the floor is yours.
Other than saying my name, which is Ciara Reed, that's how I introduce myself. I do a lot of writing for women's wrestling. I cover it over at Pro Wrestling Ponderings. I've been covering women's wrestling for, maybe 8 years at this point. Maybe. I don't know. Can't keep track. But, yeah, I'm here. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you
I
for
don't get
being
asked to be on podcasts often.
Well, that's going to change because we had normally when we do this podcast, we just kind of talk amongst ourselves for about 30 minutes to kind of get warmed up and ready for the podcast. And like, the part before this is better than what the podcast is probably going to be. So yeah, you're definitely on the rotation. And I know you hate this nickname, but it's hilarious. She's known as the female Dave Meltzer. So we
Oh no.
She hates it. From what I've heard, she hates the nickname. So
What have I gotten myself into?
I know.
But no,
Thanks to Rich
Yeah.
for coining me that. And, the other week I did a podcast and I was just like, the person was saying, and I was just like, what, Rich has got to change that because Meltzer is out here. He's getting trolled on Twitter for, just hating women and all that stuff. I'm just like, you have to change that, bro. Like, you're going to have to figure that out.
we're going to work on a new nickname for you because you deserve one. But I just want you to know, Carl and I and Caleb in his absence, we are honored and esteemed to have you on with us. Thank you for being on.
Pleasure is mine. I really don't mind. I love talking wrestling more than anything. It's so much fun just to get out there and just speak about it.
You hear that? You hear that, guys? Wrestling is supposed to be fun. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
No,
not having it.
Bring us back to earth, Carl. Bring us back to earth.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
We're gonna try to not be too long, but there's so much to talk about. We had a hell of a weekend, Royal Rumble weekend. Everything, it's got news all out. Even if you want to go New Japan, Fantasticamania. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was New Beginning this weekend. It's so much news. So I really wanted to show respect to the major week in women's wrestling. If we have time, we'll kind of run through some of the other major points of the weekend. Kenny Omega might be kicked out of the Bullet Club, and Andrade Cien Almas and Johnny Gargano had a 5-star match, first in like 6 years in WWE. Like, it was an amazing weekend.
I do actually. I know we're going to talk a lot about some other things, but real quick, we don't have to talk about the match at all. But I want to just say one thing about the Gargano and the Almas match, if that's okay.
Yeah, by all means. I know how much you loved it.
This is first of all, this was probably one of the best matches I feel like I've ever seen as a wrestling fan. I've been watching for a long time. I just loved it from top to bottom. But the great Dave Meltzer himself, right, gave this match 5 stars, and it's only the 6th WWE match he's ever given that to. And think about that company for a second. Yeah, but think about the company that match is now in. You're talking HBK Razor, the initial ladder match from WrestleMania 10. HBK Taker, Bad Blood 97, my personal favorite match of all time. Bret Austin, Mania 13. Let's see, there's a couple others. Owen
HBK Taker
and
won, right?
Brett.
Right, and HBK Taker
No,
won.
that's not on there.
It's not.
HBK Taker one is no. It's the two HBK matches I mentioned. Um, Owen and Brett from SummerSlam '94.
Austin and
CM,
Brett.
Austin and Brett, CM Punk, John Cena.
Oh, and
So
then Gargano Almas. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's pretty big praise coming from him. If you love Dave Meltzer, I mean that's
For
just wanted to throw that out there.
and for what is effectively a developmental territory. So I think even though they're still somewhat like the program is still developmental, but it's a third brand. Like it's pretty much a third brand. Like you're not out here throwing 5-star matches on developmental shows. Like this is it's a brand.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because I'm NXT Mark. Like I love WWE, but like I've watched NXT since like the old since when Dusty was still over it on TV and Jim Ross was calling shows and like way like when it started on Hulu and just to see what it's become now is it's amazing, man. But I just knew as good as the Rumble could have been, it couldn't have outdone what they did on Saturday. But I think the Rumble pay-per-view outdid it. Um,
Woo. It may have, yeah.
it might in totality, and I know it's 4 hours to three, well to 2.5, but it might have outdid it. So we like I said, we'll probably get into some of the extra stuff if we can. But yo, we had a women's Royal Rumble, y'all. Like this is like 20, 30 years overdue, or in the making, if you will. And I appreciate it. A lot of people were complaining that well, there's only 17 or 18 full-time spots, so they're gonna put too many legends and too many NXT people in it. Well, the purpose of that was, and before it even happened, my thought was the purpose of that would be simply because there's so many women that have fought hard for this situation to happen that they wanted to kind of showcase them, and then that happened. Molly Holly and Tori Wilson and Kelly Kelly and Lita and Trish and Michelle McCool, who probably had the most surprising show, and she eliminated 4 people. I know I'm missing somebody else. Forgive me, but like Beth Phoenix, everything mattered. And a lot of those women hadn't really wrestled in a while, and you could tell. But that wasn't the point. It was the point that it
Didn't
happened.
matter.
No, and it still was great. And God bless Sasha. She was the Iron Woman, like we all knew she would be.
Well,
Yeah.
let's think about this for a second. I definitely want to get Ciara in on it, but because she's the woman of our group here. But this Rumble, the women's Rumble especially, the Rumble has always been. You're not looking for some amazing. It's not really a wrestling match.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's about moments.
It's guys chilling out. And it's about moments. And like if you think about this women's Rumble, so many surprises, so many like people we haven't seen in forever. Like I love Molly Holly, okay? And when she came out, I marked out like a kid again. Like I always loved her. She was always one of my favorites, right?
Yeah.
And I was not expecting her to come. She hasn't wrestled in a while. She's been gone. And she's still younger. I mean, she's not like up there in age
No,
necessarily.
she's like in her 40s, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean,
Early
she's young when she started, in the
Yeah.
WWE. And so to see her back was really cool. That was a cool moment for me, and like and of course, everyone has an attachment to other people, Trish Stratus, Jacqueline, Lita, whoever,
Yeah.
there was someone, yeah, I mean, so like Rumbles are about moments and surprises. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And the Women's Royal Rumble delivered, in my opinion. Most people don't want to say this, and that's fine if you don't want to say it. I thought they completely nailed it. I thought it was better than the men's, and the reason why I say that is because they didn't have to put this match in the main event spot.
No.
And in the main event spot, it had something like when you're in the main event, you gotta live up to being in the main event.
It's what they're gonna
And
remember by the
yeah.
end for the rest of the time. Yeah.
And they nailed it. To me, it was about as good as it gets. I mean, I just, it's hard for me to really find a lot wrong with it.
No, if you ask me to like be an asshole and like literally run through a fine tooth comb, of course we could critique it, but that's not the point of wrestling. That's not what we're gonna do. That's
Right.
not what we do on this podcast. I do think the men's Royal Rumble was structured better, and that might be because we've seen so many recently that have been structured so poorly. I don't think they've been
Right.
as bad as so many people have thought they were, but like the men's Royal Rumble was structured it was absolutely flawlessly structured. You can say what you want about what happened in the ring. I'm just talking about the structure of it, as who came
Sure.
in, the spots, like it was perfect. But the women's Royal Rumble was absolutely the right choice to close. It was absolutely they read the temperature of the room. It was the perfect moment. They had the right people. I wish Paige could have been in it. I hate that she
Sure.
couldn't. Like there were some young
Foxy.
people. Fox got man. I hate that for Fox because Fox
Yeah.
has been there so long, and I know she's wanted that for so long. But she'll have her moment, I'm sure. Because like Fox is gonna be there for a while. Like she's just seemed like she's gonna be like a lifer. You know. But it's enough. We've talked enough. Sierra, what did you think about the Rumble? Let us know.
First and foremost, I want people to understand is that the Royal Rumble for the women wasn't necessarily just a match to be a match like the Royal Rumble usually is. It was a celebration of
Yes.
everything that these women have contributed to that division, regardless of the name. Uh, it was a total celebration of that, and every woman involved in that match should have been involved in the match. I honestly, because I like to do armchair booking, if I had it my way, every freaking body would have been involved in this. I don't care. It was the homegirl at catering. If Jan that was doing the makeup back in the day, she would have been involved in this. Like, Sandra that was the seamstress, she would have been involved
You
in this.
beat me to. I was about to say her. Yeah.
Everybody that was a woman in that company that worked hard for over a decade or more should have been involved in this match. I don't care what they did because it's a celebration of that women's contributions to that company. And yes, the company still has a lot of things to work on when it comes to their female employees and the ethics that's done backstage, especially like regarding like pay wise and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But you know, seeing something like that actually be a thing for real, and now knowing that this is going to be a every year thing and not a one time thing of, haha, you get it once, we don't care to give it to you again.
Yeah.
Now knowing that, they're being serious about putting the women on the same platform, the same plateau as their male superstars because they're all superstars. There's no separation. There's no, well, we can't have Trish go and do this because it's a little difficult for the women. It's none of that. It's all abolished. And, you brought up Michelle McCool, and I remember she was doing, the move that Mandy Rose does. I think it's called the Wings of Love.
Yeah.
And they took that away from her in 2007 and told her it's too devastating for the girls
Yep.
and gave her the Styles Clash.
Yep.
Just as devastating.
Probably
And
more devastating.
yes, because you're falling flat on your face, really.
We want the other way
And
around. Yeah.
yeah, so seeing her in this match and getting to eliminate a number of people, a lot of people are like, why would they let Michelle McCool do that? And I'm like, do you guys realize Michelle McCool, Mickey James, Beth Phoenix, and there's a couple other people that would have been in this match but weren't,
Victoria.
have gotten to do something that a lot of women in this company didn't get to do. They got to hold the Divas Championship and the women's belt.
Yeah.
She should be eliminating these young girls. Everybody. Like, that's a GOT to me. Greatest of all time. She should be doing that. Trish should be coming in at number 30. She's the greatest of all time. 7-time women's champion. No one else has done that. Charlotte and Sasha might get close to that one day, but Trish set that mold. They have to break that. So all of these women being in this match, and Kelly, I know everybody was talking about her performance. I'm just like, I don't care. I'm like, Kelly could have came out there and ran the ropes and fell out and eliminated herself.
It wouldn't
I
have mattered.
don't freaking care.
Wouldn't have mattered.
She should be there. Like, all of them should be there. It's a celebration of everything that they've done, past and present, bad, good. It was just a good moment to see that as a fan. Like,
Yeah.
wow, the women are
Well,
main event in this.
to your
Not
point
the
with Kelly, I think it's really interesting because a lot of people see her as, this terrible wrestler or whatever. And we were talking about this off air before we started, but like a lot of people see her as this terrible wrestler, but let's keep in mind that's usually the hardcore fans.
Right.
Like casual fans loved Kelly Kelly.
Mhm.
She was popular. Like, so we can't just forget about a sect of wrestling fans
Right.
as hardcore as we are, just
Right.
because we don't like how she was running the ropes or whatever. And that's such a good point that you made there, you know?
And I also want to say that there are different things. A wrestling card is like a variety show. So like
Right.
I wouldn't hold Santino to the same respects I would hold AJ Styles to. So
No.
everybody had
Right.
their place on the card and their point. So Kelly wasn't there to wrestle your 5-star.
Mm-mm.
No, she was there for what she did, and what she did, she excelled at it. So
Right.
yeah, she deserved to be
And
there.
then here's the thing: if she didn't show up, and a few other of those women that was around the time when it was strictly the Divas division, she would have been called out for being stuck up or thinking she's too good. But at the same time,
Yeah.
her showing up, you know, I was kind of shocked. I said it to somebody that that a lot of women from that era that gets torn into pieces to this day, even though it's been over almost a decade ago. It feels like a lot of those women showed up as opposed to the ones that are as the IWC says, real wrestlers. you
Yeah.
know
Absolutely.
I was shocked that Victoria wasn't involved in this. She's still been wrestling.
Same here.
I don't understand that Melina is still wrestling, still looks great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women that were there during a time and had like a role that weren't involved in this.
Ashley Massaro.
And Ashley Massaro, no, we didn't need that, but
I didn't want her either, but she's a Divas champ. She wrestled a match at WrestleMania. She was
yeah,
Playboy
yeah. I
cover
mean, I
girl.
would
Like she got
like
a big
to.
push.
I would like to have seen that. I would like to have seen Jillian Hall, but I only know
Jillian.
Jillian Hall is still involved in wrestling. But you know, it just always cracked me up because I was just like, yeah, it's funny. You guys hated all of them, but they're all here because they love this
Yeah.
thing that you claim that they don't. And then to see how they're tearing Nikki Bella apart for just saying something in defense of all the women.
The same
It
thing
just
that Nia
shows,
and Sasha said at the same day.
yes, it just shows you that there is a sect of us fans that's gotten past that and don't see that there is a problem with that, but there's still that sect of fans that hate these women because of their background prior to wrestling and just don't understand that people change and you have to get over that. But it, I enjoy Kelly Kelly. I enjoyed seeing her in there. The one person, Tori Wilson.
I was shocked she was there.
What?
I was shocked.
Okay, first of all, I am an OG Tori Wilson stan. I've been a fan since WCW.
WCW.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am not ashamed to say it because the first time I seen Tori Wilson, I said, I don't know what she does, but I need to figure it out because she is freaking gorgeous. Like,
Yeah.
that woman has no flaws, never has. And another thing I love about Tori Wilson is her attitude. She just loved doing it, and she just always seemed like she's having fun. And I watched there used to be what was that, Confidential, they used
Yeah.
to have on the former Spike TV, and I remember they did a piece on Tori Wilson on there, and she was talking about her eating disorder that she had developed in her teenage years, and
Yeah. Who knew?
uh, no
Look
one knew
at her.
that. And
Yeah.
here's
Look
the
at her.
thing: at that time when I was watching that, I was going through one
Oh
in my
wow.
adolescence. So for me, I was already a fan, and I was just like, wow, if she can overcome this, I can do this. And just seeing how she's just so candid about her experiences and just, she did wrestling, she got thrown into it, not thinking she was going to stay as long as she did. And to see her come out there, first of all, when her and Terry Reynolds and them came on the stage during Raw, I said, I don't know what Terry Reynolds has been doing for the past 20 years, but good Lord.
Yeah.
Tori stunted on everybody.
Hmm.
She was just like, y'all haven't seen me in a decade, but I still look good.
Oh yeah.
And
Maybe better.
maybe I was sitting there thinking, like, did she do something to herself, or is she just
she's
genetically just fine?
she's a fitness
Like,
guru. So yeah.
she just,
Genetically superior.
yeah,
Well, that
she
too.
just,
No
it was
Charlotte.
just seeing her face involved in all that. It was just like, wow, like Tori Wilson, like, never would have thought I would see the day where she was back in that ring again. Because I remember when they did the WrestleMania 25 Battle Royal,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Was in
She
there for
was
like 5 seconds or however long it was.
she was really upset with that battle royal of how things went, and especially with Santina Morella winning it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
her comment that stuck with me to this day, well, when she said, "When Trish pulls out of a match, you know something's wrong."
Yeah, that's good. That's a
So
great quote.
she refused to do anything after that. So seeing that, she was just like, you know what? Let me put on these tights and come out here and, to need a little more time.
I do want
Like,
to
okay.
say, you say she has no flaws. She has one. She married Kidman. It's not her fault.
Well, I
So
can't blame her because, you know,
he was cute back in the day. Yeah, I got you. He had the
well,
hair.
not only that, but he was like one of the kings of the cruiserweights back then,
He was
and
the
The
didn't
man.
even,
the shooting
you know,
star press, man. Come on.
yeah. So I
He
mean,
was the
I
man.
I can't blame her for doing that at that time. But nowadays, I'm like,
Although,
Tori, what are you doing?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Move from
Although
Kidman to
we should
A-Rod.
definitely, well, with Kidman too, though, we kind of try and forget about the flock days when he was doing the 7 year
Oh,
itch
Oh,
and all that stuff.
yeah. Old school WCW fans here, guys. So a lot of y'all probably know
Yep.
what the fuck that is. Um.
Shameful.
So I kind of want to focus in on the end of the match. Um, so with these rumbles, especially, I think it started. What was it in 2008 when Cena came back at 30 when he was supposed to be hurt, and it was like
hmm
the
Yeah.
showdown
Yeah.
between Cena, Batista, and Triple H, and they had the little pose off. Like I feel like ever since then, the last 3 or 4 people in the rumble is kind of telling from a company's perspective, either like what's going to happen towards WrestleMania, who's next, like the kind of the top guys or like it's always something that the company tries to tell you, in my opinion. Like with the men, the final 6 were uh it was Cena, Roman,
Cena,
and
well,
Mysterio.
Cena, Orton,
Cena,
Mysterio.
Orton,
That's one
Mysterio.
generation.
Yes, and
Finn, Nakamura, Roman.
thank you. So yeah, so like there was
Generational.
right, and then once Orton and Mysterio got eliminated, it was the guys we pushed, Cena and Roman, versus the guys you wanted to push in Finn and Nakamura. So I kind of feel like you
Yeah.
can tell. So with the women, it was very telling. And for the record, Sierra, I called Brie Bella being in the Rumble. Like I called that. Like a lot of people didn't think she would be. I figured she would be in it because it's
I
not
mean,
too
she
much for her
had
to
to
do.
be.
Yeah, it's not too much for her to do if she's not fully ready. Um, but with Nikki and Brie and Sasha and Asuka, I think it's telling because clearly Charlotte and Alexa couldn't be in the match because they're champions.
Yeah.
Um, and you always have to have a shock elimination. So Becky being eliminated was your shock elimination. But I think the company was trying to do what they did in the men's rumble with, which is kind of have the pit the old guard versus the new guard.
Yeah.
And you saw Sasha started to be a little more heelish, if you will, or let's show a little more shades of gray, because you can like clearly you can see Sasha has an issue with Asuka.
Yeah.
Whether it's jealousy, whether it's I want your spot, whether it's I've been the queen of this division and then you just coming here trying to take everything, whatever it is, there's an issue there. We saw it Monday with their amazing match they had. We can touch on that later. But what did you think of the final 4? Would you have had it be somebody different with the competitors that were in the match? Like I know in a perfect world it'd have been whatever, but in a perfect world, like in this world, like what we saw, did you think it was the right competitors? Because clearly the right person won. I think most of us can agree Oscar should have won. I don't know how you feel, but I know Carl and I are kind of on the same page with that. But like, what did you think? Was it the right 4? Did you like how the final went down? Were you okay with the winner? Like, what did you think about kind of the ending of the match?
I was completely fine with Asuka winning. I had like I don't know how many like picks to win this Rumble match, but
It
at
probably
the same
changed a
time,
lot.
I
Yeah.
was at the same time, I was just like, I don't care who wins. I just want to see this actually happen. And like I said, I had Asuka, I had Paige before the whole injury
We
situation,
did too.
and then I had Sasha Banks as my backup, and I also had like was sitting there, and I was just like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to see Mickey James do this. You
Okay.
know, she's the rugged veteran. She's been there through the previous division that
Yeah.
was, ridiculed and backlash. And, they still kind of haven't touched on the whole situation with Sasha Banks and those comments she made about, division beforehand and she's an improvement and stuff like that.
Word.
Like,
Yeah.
there is a story right there her and Mickey James could pick up because, Mickey James, she's, old school and she's up there in age and, older people, they get stuck on the last thing you say and be like, what, that really bothered me that you said that last Tuesday.
Yeah, but that'd be
But
rough to do with Sasha as a baby. So with
yeah,
her turning more heelish again, I could see
heel, yeah.
revisiting it. Yeah.
But see, that right there, that could be a in-ring promo where Sasha does turn heel
Absolutely.
and just
Absolutely.
rips Mickey James, just tears her down and just, assaults like any of her credibility. That can be a moment right there. See, I'm thinking of shit. Y'all need to figure it out, WWE. Like I'm telling you,
They listen to
I've
us.
got this
They
for
listen
ya.
to us. If you didn't know, like they listen to us for some reason. Like stuff happens. We talked about. Like I got blocked from one of the Young Bucks, and I don't even tweet. I don't know how it happened, but I said something about him one day, and I was blocked. Like they listen to us, so maybe it'll
Yeah.
happen.
So, I mean, that could be a moment in itself, and that would actually be a good idea to use Mickey James to do that.
Absolutely.
And Mickey James has made some stars in that company,
Yeah.
but
Hell yeah.
I
Hell, she
I
might have
was
made
like,
Trish.
yeah,
If you want
she
to be
made,
honest.
and like I said, I first was like, that'd be kind of cool just to let her have that next WrestleMania moment of like, I've been gone for several years. She's like the only woman that's a Triple Crown winner that's held every women's championship
Yeah.
that's on television in North
Old
America.
women. Yeah.
You know,
Divas
so
and yeah. Good point.
knockouts. And so that would have been a moment of like, hey, I came back and you guys weren't expecting it, but hey, I'm in the Mania matchup. But at the same time, I actually thought the final four before the whole injury situation with Alicia Fox and it was going to be Nikki Bella, Paige, Asuka, Sasha Banks.
Okay.
And the reason why I said that is because you've got all the variables of the division,
Yeah.
past, present, currently. And what it came down to was the Bellas, Asuka, Sasha Banks. And when I sat there and I was just like, this visual is something.
It's
Like,
profound. Yeah.
it's a think piece in itself because you got the Bella twins who have been there for over 10 years.
Over 10. Yeah.
Yeah, Alicia Fox has been there for almost over 10 years too. So you got the two women that's been there for over 10 years and rallied behind the scenes to have Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Bayley pulled up when the company kept telling them they're not ready. They rallied for those girls
Oh yeah.
and also helped, put forth this change that's going on. So you got them there as the rugged veterans protecting the locker room and for the investment in the locker room. And then you got Sasha Banks who grew up watching these women and forming her own sentiments in her head of like, I hate everything that they're doing with these women and wanting to be the complete opposite. She gets to stand across from them in the ring. Then you have Asuka, who doesn't have shit to do with any of these women, had a 10 plus career over in Japan, didn't have to be in divisions, didn't have to be under company's name by, a random adjective, nothing.
Company's
She's,
paid by a random adjective.
yeah, like,
That's funny.
she's from a different perspective because in Japan there is multiple women's promotions. No one is tagged anything differently. It's fine. Women wrestling women all the time, every day of the week. It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
And she comes here to the United States where there is women's promotions, but then she comes to a company that's known for not treating their women with the same respect as their men. So that's why I said she has nothing to do with any of these women because she's already lived the life that they're now getting to enjoy.
Yeah.
So to see her win that shows you that, one, the company sees something in Asuka. I mean, I could have told them about 8 years ago. When I first seen her, I was just like, Mama is bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to see that she's getting a WrestleMania moment, and then on top of that, people, I think everybody, because they follow New Japan and stuff like that. I'm not an avid watcher of it. It's too long, y'all. It's too long.
You're
The
right on par with us. Trust me.
It's too fucking long. I can't. Like, my ADD that I don't have kicks in, and I'm just like, look, y'all wanted to take this match home, get the other one out here for 3 minutes, because I don't have time to
Man,
stay up
and
for
then
4 and 5 hours in the
and
morning.
then too
I don't have
many
time.
and too many damn tag matches. Look, we're not gonna shit on New Japan right now. This is not
I
that
Oh,
mean,
come on.
podcast. It's not that podcast. That's next
you know,
week.
but I think some fans forget that when it comes to women's wrestling and wrestling in general, there's not been many instances besides wrestling over in Japan where Asian performers are put on that plateau of being a big deal.
Yeah.
And to see Asuka come in that company 20 something years later after Bull Nakano, the last women's champion in that company that was of Asian descent,
Yeah.
and get her WrestleMania moment and been built up as this undefeated, just ass kicking machine,
Yeah.
and get this fan base that never seen this woman before had, didn't know anything of her, just latch onto her. That is a beautiful sight to see. So there is so much with her winning that it means something. And it's a big deal that she won the first one. And they didn't go with what could be considered like a typical person to win it.
Sure.
And this really sets the bar high for next year's. Because you never know.
Yeah.
Next year, we might have, Kairi Sane is probably going to be on the roster by that point.
Ember.
They might go over Japan and bring more Joshis over.
Well,
You don't know who's going to be there next
well,
year.
I want to say her name right. Io Shirai. Is that how you say it?
Yes. Yeah, Io
She was
Shirai.
she was signed, but she was hurt. And instead
Right.
of taking the time off like they wanted, she just re-signed with Stardom. I think. Did she re-sign with Stardom?
Yeah,
Well,
she actually returned. Yeah.
yeah. But she was like they had the contract on, like they were ready to sign her. And people tell me, I don't watch enough Joshi wrestling. This is something I'm working on ingratiating into my wrestling diet.
Oh,
But
you need to, honey.
yeah,
I'm telling you. You
I'm
haven't lived your
learning.
life until you see it.
I'm learning. Yes, I am learning. But Io might be better than Asuka from a lot of things people are telling me. So yeah.
That's the new fan saying it. That's okay. Let me step on my soapbox here.
Uh-oh.
I know there's a lot of new Stardom fans and that are probably seeing Joshi wrestling for the first time ever in their life. That's great. That's fine. That's dandy. I'm proud that you're doing it. Io Shirai is a GOAT. Okay? There's no disputing that. She's been that for years. She's been the way she's wrestling now and at the level she's wrestling now, she's been doing that for over 10 years.
Oh
And
wow.
no one paid attention to it. Her and Kana, who's
That's Asuka's
Asuka
original
now,
name. Yeah.
they were a tag team
Oh, okay. I didn't know
years
that.
ago.
Didn't know that.
So they never had a one-on-one matchup ever. So there's that intrigue of if that ever happens. But I can't sit here and say, because I've been a long time watcher of both women's careers, way before they got considered by WWE or anybody else started figuring out who they were.
Hmm.
For me, I cannot say that Io is a better performer than Asuka because Asuka has something that a lot of performers today on the indies, in Japan, wherever, worldwide, does not have. And that's the theatrics
Okay.
and playing up her gimmick, and not only playing up her gimmick, but investing you in it with her mobility.
Yeah.
Everything she does, she's consumed in it, and when you're watching it, you get lost in her art. She's
Yes.
doing what you're supposed to do in professional wrestling and not out there doing 450s just to do 450s because it's cute.
It makes sense.
She's it makes sense. And
Yeah.
even if you're sitting there watching it, you're just like, why did she just back fist her? To you, it makes sense because you're into it.
Yeah.
She's drawing you in, and you can't help but get caught up in her character and everything she does because she makes you a believer from everything she does. There's not a lot of wrestlers that are capable of doing that,
Male
and
or female, for that record. Male or
male or
female.
female. And Io, the difference between them two, her performance says it all for her. Theatrics alone, like her gimmick and stuff like that, that's not really there.
Yeah, but
But
WWE will build that up if she ever comes out. Like that's
they'll
the
they'll
part.
definitely build it
Yeah,
up.
that's what they're great at. Is kind of the extra.
Hmm.
Production.
Yeah.
Right.
That's their niche, so to
Yeah.
speak.
But they'll figure it out if she ever gets reconsidered to be brought back in. They'll figure it out for her. But that's the difference between them two, where Asuka had that going on when she got to the company. And I'm being honest with you, what we see on television every Monday
It's
night,
nothing. I've seen videos. Yes, it's nothing.
it's It's the same thing that I was seeing over in Japan for years. The same fucking character, just a different name. I'm not
I
even lying.
I have seen videos. So when she so whenever someone gets signed,
Right,
they kind of make their debut, if you will, ringside at a takeover. So
right.
when she made her debut and they said Kana, I was like, okay, so she's standing next to Ric Flair. She's important. Who is she?
Right.
I looked up some videos, and like there was one. So in one, I saw the video where Minoru Suzuki beat the hell out of her, the respect
Mhm.
thing over there, and like, okay, ultimate respect right there. They'd take that. And then I
Mhm.
saw like her kind of her best of. Yo, there was one part where she kicked Funaki so hard, like they paused the video, and in Funaki's face you could tell that he regretted ever learning how to wrestle. Like, so that's all I needed to know. Like, she's wrestling great matches now. I think the match that she had with Sasha is more close to what she can,
Yes.
or the matches she had with Ember. Because Ember,
Mhm.
if you don't know, I live in Houston. Reality of Wrestling is Booker T's promotion down here,
Right.
and I've been going. I
I
go
know
to this.
about Ember.
Yeah, so I go to their shows a lot, and I've helped work their shows, picking up stuff, putting because
Mhm.
I was gonna train there to learn how to wrestle, but I don't know if you can see on the Skype, but I have a heart monitor. I have a heart problem.
Mhm.
Um, and a friend of mine was training, so I would help with them. But I have a kinship to Ember or Adrian, her real name, because of the connection. So I've
Right.
always kind of bigged her up more than maybe at times she should have been bigged up, but I've always been behind
Right.
her. But Ember is in that company probably the closest I think like 100% to her talent. So the match she had with Ember, the match she had with Sasha is closer to what Asuka really does. Like Asuka's
Right.
like painting by numbers when she's wrestling a lot of these women.
Right. And then the things with her and Ember, I'm not sure. I would have to like really look this up on like a wrestling database. I think they had one match against each other back in Shimmer, but if
Maybe.
they never did, but here's the thing, they had wrestled around each other for a number of years, so they kind of understood each other's style.
Yeah.
So when that match got performed, I was just like, well, I'm going to see a spectacle because I know both of them, what they're capable
Hell
of.
yeah.
Been following, Ember Moon when, she first came out as Athena Reese. And,
Yep.
so I knew what they both were capable of, but that match against Sasha Banks was just it was so delicious
Yeah.
as a cake that I just was like, I want more of it, and I didn't regret it. And I was just like, this right here one day is going to be a main event of a big
Absolutely.
show.
And you know what? For me, like they've shown that Carl, jump in when you get a chance. They've shown that they're gonna give the women main events. I mean, maybe not like they're starting to get to like the big ones, like the Hell in the Cells
Right.
and the Rumbles and Elimination Chambers. But they've shown they'll give you the main event on a Raw or whatnot. What's more important to me is that, and I wanna segue into something that isn't relevant now, but I kind of want to get your take on it because I didn't get a chance to
Hmm.
at the time. What's more important to me is that they let them go out all out like that because so many of
Right.
the matches they I mean don't get me wrong, they let them wrestle, and like if it's like Sasha or Charlotte, somebody or Paige back when she was still wrestling who has some clout to do a little more than what they want, they let them go a little more. But like they those girls went out there and wrestled, like they fought, like they had a
Hmm.
real passionate match that previous years they'd have been like, don't do that. And I think that's
Right.
gonna become more of
Well,
the norm.
I just jump in real quick on Sasha and Asuka because if you guys remember, and I'm my dates, I'm real bad with dates and all this shit, so just give me a sec here.
Hmm.
But if I recall, Takeover Brooklyn, SummerSlam, they had Sasha. It was, I believe, Ember was facing Asuka for the title
Hmm.
for the NXT Women's Championship.
That
They
was the
had
second
Sasha
time,
on that.
wasn't it?
I think so. They had Sasha on the pre-show, and Sasha was all about some Asuka. She hasn't
Hmm.
faced me. Like Asuka's undefeated in NXT, but she never had to deal with me.
Word.
Like everything that's kind of coming back, and you look at like the way they did the Final Four, and Sasha was like all about like I'm gonna hook up with the Bella Twins here so we can get rid of Asuka. Like
Yeah.
whatever I can do to show up Asuka. She's been wanting to show her up since she heard how great she was, and she had to hear all these commentators
Absolutely.
talking about how amazing Asuka was. And
Absolutely.
to see the way they did it in the match, I mean, Sasha did everything she could
She
to
tried
try and get
her
a victory.
damnedest. And
Everything.
Asuka
She did
beat
that damn
ass.
suicide dive that I hate, where I'm afraid Sasha's going to break her
Oh
damn
my
neck.
God, I hate that move.
And so she did everything. She threw the kitchen sink at Asuka and couldn't get it done. And this is on a Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, imagine if they get an opportunity down the line at a WrestleMania, at a SummerSlam, whatever. Like, it's going to be off the chain. They really did, like, tore it down, you know?
I'm booking it already for SummerSlam. I feel like it's going to go for a while because I feel like right now that match on Monday Night Raw, just sitting there and watching it and just was like, you know what? This right here is a catalyst to turn Sasha Banks heel. Like,
Yeah.
you have, they talk about it on commentary ad nauseum to the point where I just be like, okay, God damn it, I get it. Like, I get it. She's one of the Force women. Like, I get it. But what they're trying to tell you is that she came in, her, Charlotte, Becky Lynch came up first. They were part of this revolution to undo everything that was currently there and make a change that was already in the process, but they really rushed it when they came up.
Yeah.
And then, Bailey came up, and Bailey, since she's been on the main roster, hasn't been able to capitalize on the success that she had in NXT. And it's more so because of writing and them just not really knowing what to do with her
I
as a
disagree with
big
that.
baby face.
I disagree with that, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. Like, I feel like Bailey, she needs somebody that can really bring that storyline out of her. But at the same time, with Sasha Banks, we've been able to see that she is that good. She's had multiple time, women's reigns. Same with Charlotte. Charlotte's at, I don't even know the number at this point because it feels like she's a champion every time I turn around. Same thing with Alexa Bliss. We've seen these women come up from NXT and be able to be that good and do those things that they've been promising. So now you have Asuka, like I said, who has shit all to do with what's going on, doesn't care about the movement you've been pushing because she's been doing this forever. It's not nothing different to her. She comes in there and tells you basically by being undefeated and just winning at everything she does that shit right there you've been doing does not matter. And seeing Sasha Banks throwing everything at her to try to be the one that defeats her and, everything she said she was going to do and see that she couldn't get the job done solidifies that, hey,
It's coming.
you guys were good, but now who's coming up next might be 10 times better than you.
Well, we knew Asuka didn't give a shit about anybody anyway at the end of the Rumble when she slapped Ronda Rousey's hand away from her, like, who the fuck are you? Like, I don't care about you.
Yeah.
I mean, Asuka, and that's what's great about her anyway. I mean, even with like you said, the theatrics, and that's why I love Asuka so much. And I didn't pick Asuka to win because I went for a wild card shot, but Asuka was the
Don't
right
tell
winner.
who it was because she's
I
going
don't
to laugh
care.
at your ass.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Carmella?
No, I picked Ruby. I like Ruby a lot. But yeah, anyway.
Actually, I would have picked that too because, Ruby is fucking good.
But she had no shot.
Right.
Like she had no.
All right, let's just
give her a
talk
year.
about old shit.
I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to have a shot. Just the way things are now, she had no shot.
Right.
But so my deal though is like you think about Asuka and the fact that she just slapped away Ronda's hand, and you were talking about the theatrics, which is why I think Asuka is the perfect winner for this because I think about one of my favorite moments of the Women's Rumble was her and Ember, and Ember comes in and she's screaming. Ember's being her Twilight self, and she's got the hurt arm.
Yeah.
She's got the cell in the arm. And Asuka looks at her and just points at the arm and kind of mocks her a little bit. Like, what are you going to do? Like, look at you. I beat you in NXT twice. Or it may have been, when she beat her twice or three times?
Just twice.
Just twice. Beat her twice, and now you're coming in here with a messed up arm. I'm going to whoop your ass again. Like, Asuka, and you felt it. Like, you feel that with her because she just knows how to
express herself.
Yeah, she knows how to express it. Sasha might say she's the boss, but Asuka shows you, I am the boss. This is my division. And the whole thing with Asuka is perfect.
Let me segue to this because we're gonna get to Ronda in a second here. That's probably where we're gonna kind of cut it off, sort of, kind of. But I do want to get both of your opinion. What do you think Asuka's gonna go towards for WrestleMania? Because remember, the new rule is, or the brought back rule is she has her choice. So do you think she's gonna go after Alexa or Charlotte? And I realize that sounds like a stupid question on the top, but Alexa has been pushed harder than any woman this year, besides that's not named Asuka. So, like, what do you think? Where do you see them going? Carl, what do you think?
I still think she's gonna go for Charlotte. Um,
Because
I
that
know
means
she's
she'll go to
on.
that means she'll go to SmackDown then, and
Yeah,
so
I
all these
know.
things we're pitching won't happen for a while. That's why I'm
Well,
asking.
I know, but you can. I know this. I don't mean to sound like ridiculous, but with Ronda being there now, and I know we're going to talk about her,
Yeah,
I feel like you can bring Ronda onto Raw as a replacement for Asuka in that vein. And so what I'm saying, well, the reason why I say Charlotte is because it's Asuka, and
it's
I
a great
don't
match. Yeah,
feel like I don't feel like Alexa, as much as I've come around on Alexa over the months. I wasn't crazy about Alexa at first, but as much as I've come around on her, I don't feel like she's a threat. And I feel
she's
like
not. That's the point.
I feel yeah, but I feel like Charlotte and I feel like Asuka, like Charlotte to me is the big dog, in terms of how they presented her on the roster. And I feel like Asuka is going to be like, that's who I want. I want Charlotte because she's the big dog. And also, I think that's going to be the better match, just FYI.
Oh,
So I'm a little
absolutely,
biased.
absolutely.
But I feel like it's an opportunity to say, okay, we can put Asuka. She beats Charlotte. She moves to SmackDown. And now we have Ronda on Raw. And I know we're going to talk about Ronda, but like that's just kind of like I feel like you can make that replacement. You can make that move. Even though I love Asuka where she's at currently.
Yeah,
But I feel like the women's division is a little bit stronger in terms of overall, a little bit on SmackDown, in terms of
yeah,
actual talent. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
So that's what I would say she would do. So
Sierra.
I think I have two thoughts in mind. I think Asuka is either going to say both, just
That's
to
some
oh
Asuka
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
she say both because she's one of those people like we've been saying that she does not care. Like she's willing to go for everything and then some. And I also feel like she's going to say both just to toy with Alexa Bliss, who is terrified of her. Obviously, you can
Yes,
see it in her face.
yes,
She don't want no problems with her. Okay, so but I feel like she's going to pick Charlotte. Like there's going to be some type of segment that draws on and on where it's who's Asuka going to pick for next couple weeks, and I think that'd be cool because it kind of plays up that this is important. The Royal Rumble happened for a reason, and it also puts that significance to it that like we should care that she won this and not that she won this. Kind of like how they do the guys like, okay, they're the Royal Rumble winner and they're going to Mania, and then it's just like okay, I'm supposed to care for the next couple of months, but they have an opportunity to play it up with Asuka, especially with her saying that she wants both. And then I also feel like when she picks Charlotte and she goes to SmackDown, here's the thing. In a couple months, we're going to have the draft again. True. So the roster is going to get switched around. And I have a feeling with Sasha Banks that we're on the brink of her turning heel. But I feel like something is going to happen where Sasha Banks leaves Raw abruptly. She's dissatisfied and goes to SmackDown. We've seen this with The Miz recently.
yeah. And she
Where
said
he
she
changed
wants to go to
roster.
SmackDown, actually, like
Right.
in real life. Yeah,
Like, can you imagine just a backstage segment, especially if she keeps losing to Asuka or whoever else, or she gets left out of things?
yeah.
That can really kick it off right there, where she say, I'm going to SmackDown, where they'll appreciate my talent, and then she'll be on SmackDown with Asuka. Like, I mean, that's a good idea to keep that going, but
Yeah.
it depends on what they're going to do. And like I said, I think it'd be a cool thing to see Asuka just toying with both.
So let me give you my ideas real quick, and then I want to kind of transition to Ronda Rousey. I'm kind of like you. Have two thoughts. My first thought is she's gonna say, "Forget both titles. I want Ronda," and I think part of that could be I could be reading that from the way Ronda came out, uh, because it kind of made I know what the rumors are and all that. I've never been one to believe in rumors until they happen, but I just find it interesting that they've let Asuka win recently the majority of the time with the armbar instead of the Asuka lock. And I felt like that was a direct point at Ronda. And I realize Ronda isn't a wrestler, but in the eyes of sports, Ronda is supposed to be. if you're not knowledgeable, one of the baddest women out. And so the threat of the baddest woman walking in to WWE against the bad woman in WWE is a hell of a draw, I think. That's not where I would go, but I can see them going that way. And I can definitely see Asuka Charlotte, but what I've thought the entire time was Asuka triple threat with Nia and Alexa. And I see that because they've been building up. I'm always big on the story, right? I try to follow the story and see where the story goes instead of just saying what I want. They've been trying to tell the story of course, Alexa's terrified of Asuka, but Alexa also has her best friend who's bigger than everybody, stronger than everybody, tougher than everybody. And Nia and Asuka haven't had their, at least not on the main roster, really had their one-on-one blow-off, if you will. And Alexa tried to convince Nia that Asuka was talking about her, even though she couldn't, because we know Asuka doesn't speak fluent English and things of that nature. And there's going to be a blow up between Alexa and Nia. And my thought is this: Alexa versus Nia is not a WrestleMania worthy match in terms of interest, in my opinion, only because uh, with the size difference and with Alexa being heel makes the story so hard to tell because Nia's so likable, even as a heel. But it's you just expect, just like you would with Asuka Alexa, you'd expect Alexa to be squashed. But if you have the world thinking that Nia and Alexa are going to work together to take out Asuka, and you have Asuka have to climb both heels of the conniving heel world champ and the irresistible force, I think that really puts over Asuka as the toughest in the entire division. Now, will they do any of that? Probably not. But I think that's something on the table, and that way you get a chance to have everybody, not just give everybody a spot on the card, but have something that puts more people on the card, and it makes sense, and it is respectful to the position it has as a world championship match on the card. I could be dead as wrong, but that's just I've kind of seen that even before the Rumble. I thought that's
Well,
where it was going.
you're wrong because no, I'm just kidding. But I will say this, like, uh, the reason why I do think Nia and Alexa is going to be the other side of this is
There's
because I
going to
feel
be
like,
something between those two at the other side,
well,
definitely.
I feel like if WWE is smart, okay, and they're really trying to show us that this women's revolution is legitimate, okay. We don't need a bunch of random ass women's matches. We need some singles title matches.
Hmm.
So like the idea of Asuka and Charlotte works. The idea of Nia and Alexa works on its surface, even though it may not be a WrestleMania like marquee. Like
Yeah.
you need to present both championships in singles fashion, in my opinion. Just because I feel like a lot of
Hmm.
times it's been a lot of triple threats. You've had a lot of four ways. You've had a lot of tag matches. Like I feel like
Yeah.
really, if
Right.
you're gonna do this with the men, where we're looking at potentially Brock and Roman, right, and we're looking at AJ and
Potentially.
Nakamura,
Potentially.
right. We're looking at these things, and even there's rumors of Miz defending his IC title for once on WrestleMania card, right? We're looking at these things, and it's like you need to try and I feel like a WrestleMania card with a lot of singles matches would just be so beneficial. Like I really
Okay.
do, because
Yeah.
they like to do a lot of things where they like to throw everybody on the card, and I get it, give everybody a
Right.
payday. But
Well,
I feel like let's make WrestleMania feel a little bit more about
Hmm.
the titles. And I'm not a big titles matter guy, but I feel
sure.
like maybe for once you could go that direction.
Well,
But
real quick.
see,
I'm sorry. I'm
but
sorry. Yeah.
also I can see what you're saying about singles matches because that was one of my main complaints about, the winner of the Royal Rumble. That if they do, whoever does win, it needs to be singles match because the last time they had a women's singles match at WrestleMania that didn't involve, lumberjills or multiple women in the match,
Was Nikki
I
and
want to say it
Trish.
was like,
Mickey and Trish.
Molly Holly versus Victoria, and
Oh
then
yeah.
Mickey and Trish,
Yeah. Molly
and then
Victoria.
but it's been over the years, it's been so sporadic. It's not something we're accustomed to seeing like as on the other shows where there's single title defenses.
Right.
Um, you know, I would like to see Alexa get that Mania moment against Asuka, and I feel like even if it is a singles one-on-one match, Nia Jax is going to come out there with Alexa, obviously, because they're hip to hip. And like I said, this idea brings about so many things, but It'd be nice to see that for once, not a triple threat match. And this also can bring up the conversation of, Raw general manager just, put this foot down, just like, hey, it's going to be a one-on-one contest. It's not going to be Sasha Banks, you're getting in this match just because, or anybody else. It's going to be a one-on-one fight. And that could set up a whole bunch of possibilities, but a Mania card, I feel like over these years needs to trim it down when it comes to being so extra with everything. And then plus there's the pre-show. We don't know what's going on in the pre-show with the women,
Right. Well,
So that's probably going to be a multi-woman matchup too. And then
sure.
whatever they're going to do with the SmackDown Women's title also.
Well, let me rebut real quick before we move on to Ronda. Just for the record, I agree with you guys on premise. You're right. I think in a perfect world, the championship should always be a singles match. But let me explain to you why I think this should be a triple threat. For one, you just said yourself, most every match is gonna be a singles match anyway. So I think variety on the card is always good to have. But more than anything, the problem we've had with all these other multi women matches that we've had over the past year have been simply one issue. They've never had a story behind them. They were just trying to lump women together to get everybody on the card. In this situation, Nia, Alexa, and Asuka have all been feuding intertwined for the better part of 6 months. So it's not like this is something they threw together just to have everybody on the card. This is a feud between all three women that would need to fit. I would equate it to Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels in that they didn't have a triple threat because they needed to throw everybody on the card. They had a triple threat because all three had an issue with each other that needed to be settled and happened to be around the championship. So
Sure.
I understand what you're saying in that, yeah, it'd be perfect to have Raw Women's Championship singles match, SmackDown Women's Championship singles match. But don't discount the fact that this isn't. I'm not pitching this, or this wouldn't be just so everybody could get on the card. This would be a match that legitimately had gusto and vigor and like a real story behind it that wasn't just
Sure.
built yesterday. Has been built
Right.
since probably as far back as SummerSlam.
Yeah, I could see that being a possibility of this being a triple threat, and then maybe the SmackDown, whatever they're doing with the championship between now and SmackDown has so many things going on.
Right.
Of course, you've got the Riot Squad and whatever they're going to do with them, and then you got Absolution on Raw. So there's so many things they got to figure out between now and WrestleMania when it comes to the cards. But I can see that matchup being a triple threat, and like I said, it's because those women have been intertwined. It makes sense. Why not do it? Give that moment to these women, and you know, like I said, I would like to see that happen, but I also would like to see a one-on-one contest, especially if both women's matches become multiple like women matches. That's gonna be overkill for me. Like
Yeah, I agree with
two
that.
triple
If both of
threats,
them are, then
like
it's a problem. Yes.
make a difference, like something different. Especially, the pre-show is probably going to be what, 2 hours?
Yeah, definitely 2 hours.
God,
Yes.
3 hours all day. Wake up at 8 a.m. Start the pre-show.
And then you
I'm
got
down.
No.
takeover that weekend.
Yeah.
So no one knows how things are shaping up between now and then. So you got to have a difference going up and down the card. It can't be the same match over and over because I have a feeling we're going to have multiple matches where it's going to be like, didn't I just see this kind of shit on the pre-show? Like, you're going to feel like that eventually. But, you know, I just would like a change eventually.
I'm with you completely. So we all I think are on that point. So let's try to transition to this. Ronda Rousey. This is probably the biggest thing happening in wrestling right now, and I'd say in all of wrestling, and that includes non WWE feds because this is legitimately mainstream news. Every news station was talking about this Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Ronda's a household name. There's not very many in sports right now, at least in combat sports. And she's one of them. She's one of the biggest UFC draws in history. In fact, she is. I'm not going to be as ignorant to say she created women's MMA, but she definitely popularized it. Um, Gina Carano deserves some respect for that too, but Dana wouldn't get a division in UFC until he saw Ronda. So she is a trailblazer. She is a champion. She got her ass whipped those last two fights, but Ronda's a draw. So for her to sign in WWE, and most notably full time. Now I don't know if full time means she'll be there every Raw, and she won't be back for about a month because she's has prior engagements filming a movie. But she's not. This isn't something she's doing like one match and then I'll see what happens. Like she signed for 3 months, for 3 years. That's a big statement. Um, she came out after the women's match, after the women's Royal Rumble match. Many people had an issue because they said she upstaged Asuka. I don't believe that. I understand the argument, but man, what is she going to do? Are you okay with her being there? Do you think she upstaged Asuka? Like, what are your thoughts on the whole Ronda Rousey situation being signed to WWE?
Well, first of all, I understood everybody's grievances on Twitter and social media accounts about the upstaging of Asuka and how dare she, and this is overshadowing a moment of a historical event for the women. I get that, totally get that. I agree with Nikki Bella and all the women that have been putting out their thoughts that they hated how that happened. But also, that can be kind of a work too, to put more emphasis on how freaking dare she. But at the
Yeah,
same time, I'm not a follower of MMA, but I do know Ronda Rousey. I know Misha Tate. I'm familiar with Chris Cyborg and Gianna Carano.
okay,
I remember when there was discussion of women's MMA being a thing for a number of years,
yeah,
and them wanting Chris Cyborg to be the face
yeah,
of the women's division in UFC. I remember all of that, and Misha Tate, and
yep.
then Ronda Rousey, and then there were so many other women. Like some of the women they have now, I'm not really familiar with, but I remember
The
reading
original.
articles about, Shayna Baszler and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I'm familiar with those women of just knowing that this has been a thing that's been going on for like a decade or more. So for me with Ronda, when it comes to Ronda and seeing how she portrays herself, not only on, television screens, but in real life. And I watched the Ultimate Fighter season with her and Misha Tate, and it turned me off as an individual because I was just like, Jesus, like, is she really this just like cold face about anything to anyone? But at the same time, I understand that she's like this because she has a huge chip on her shoulder
absolutely.
to really be like that because she's been doing this for so long. But, there's also another side of where it's just like, girl, relax, but that's people's personality. I can't change that. So knowing Rhonda, seeing how she is and how she does not care who is on the opposite side of her, octagon. When I watch some of her stuff in UFC, they'll be on commentary being like, well, Keisha Shante, she did this and blah, blah, blah. She won this many, matches and blah, blah, blah and all this stuff. Ronda comes out there and she be like, I don't care about Keisha or Shante. Clocks them. For me, when she did that to Asuka, I'm like, I wouldn't expect her to do it any other way than that.
Absolutely.
Ballsy, I don't care that you're here. I don't care that you exist. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Alexa. Wow, okay, I have to acknowledge you because I work here with you now, but I really don't care. I'm the real star. I'm the big deal. And when you go against me, you're going to be like the rest of the women to me beforehand. You don't matter. So I was fine with it. I get people's grievances, but Ronda Rousey, I don't see her doing it any other way than that.
Yeah. Um. So here's my thoughts. A couple of things. First of all, Ronda Rousey. I mean, this like people getting upset about Ronda. Like if you're truly upset about her upstaging the women, so to speak, I feel like for me, her upstaging the women, and I still wouldn't have felt this way, would have been if she had been in the Rumble. And what that shows me is that we would have been mad regardless.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
a lot of people were upset that they thought, okay, Stephanie McMahon is on commentary and she's upstaging the women. She's gonna be in the Rumble, blah 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 blah. She's gonna upstage women. We were waiting for someone to upstage the women. That's what it felt like. We were just waiting, and who was it gonna be? And so I felt like the timing was actually perfect
Right.
for her to come out, because like you said, Ronda, she don't give a shit.
Nope.
When she was in the octagon, she didn't give a shit. She just
She
went out
didn't
there and
care.
whooped ass. Yeah, and like,
I remember one of her post-match interviews. after she won, I think this is before the title, and they were asking her about the girl, and she was just like, "Who?" I was just like, "Wow, you really don't care."
She's
Yeah, she
Who is
brutal.
this?
doesn't.
She is
She
brutal.
doesn't.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
here's the thing. And here's the thing. Everything that's gone on post Ronda Rousey, talking about, the women coming out and saying what they've been saying about her. I mean, I almost feel like if you don't realize if you don't think this is a work,
Right.
like, come on. Like, the
I can
idea
tell.
here is Ronda is here to piss everybody off. She's here like, I walked in, I pointed at the WrestleMania sign. I'm the big name, just like you said. This is my place now. Like, this is
Right.
my ring. And she
Yep.
said it before when she showed up at WrestleMania with The Rock and Triple H and Stephanie were in the ring. She's like, any ring is my ring, basically.
Yeah.
And she's basically coming in and saying, this is mine. And so I think it's perfect. And I hope that the WWE, obviously, I know they're not, they didn't sign her for nothing.
Right.
And the one thing I love about Ronda, and I know a lot of people don't like her, there's some other reasons, outside reasons people don't like Ronda, and that's fine. But she's been a wrestling fan. She actually loves wrestling. And I want people in the WWE, in wrestling companies, that actually love it.
Right.
Because I feel like she's going to put in the work anyway, but I feel like, she's going to put in the work to be as good at this as she can possibly be and really give the fans something to care about. And not unlike, and I shouldn't say unlike, it's not fair, but Brock Lesnar, who's hardly ever there. This is, to me, this is a full-time thing, and she's going to be, I like to think she's going to be there at least more than he is.
Oh yeah.
But also with Brock, when they first brought him back, I remember just hearing the rumors. I don't remember knowing specifically that he was being back. And I remember turning on Monday Night Raw, and he just, when I heard that music, first of all, that music, I remember when he freaking debuted and was just like, what the hell? And I had that same thought when I heard that music. What the hell? Oh my God. Everybody get the hell out the way because now Brock's here. Every time I hear his music, I'm ready to get up and run. I don't want no problems with Brock on any day. So when he came out there, you could see even how the crowd reacted and the roster reacted of like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, he was a wrestler with MMA. Now he's here. Should we even have him here? Like, everybody was in a panic. And it's the same thing with Ronda. Like, I think if they had Sasha Banks win the match and Ronda came in there and did that, stood her hand out, I think Sasha Banks would try to get in an altercation with her.
Yeah.
Because I
Sasha
feel like
would've tried to
that
scrap,
tension would have been there. Like, how dare you? I'm the Iron Woman, and you gonna come out here and just walk in front of me and take my moment, and you point at the sign. Girl, I point at the sign, not you.
Yeah.
But with Asuka, like Ronda Rousey, is a dangerous threat that doesn't have to say shit.
Yes.
What she does shows you don't want no problems with her. And so seeing that, and where it felt like a lot of people missed out and misunderstood that they did that on purpose, and seeing the look on Charlotte's face, like, it wasn't necessarily because you ruined this moment for her, but for Charlotte was like, how dare you come and stand in front of me? I am the daughter of Ric Flair. I'm genetically superior to every woman.
5-time women's champion.
Do you think you are? So Charlotte, that puts a chip on her shoulder of like, I've been helping gear this thing. But with Ronda, just like Asuka, she doesn't give a fuck about everything that they've been doing. She's been doing her own thing and not caring about what everybody else's struggle is. So they have the two catalysts right there that could be a great matchup eventually, but I feel like they're going to keep using this to keep people pissed off at Ronda, because for whatever reason, Ronda likes to be hated.
She's a natural heel. In real life.
She feeds off of that.
Like, in real life, she's a heel. Like, she's the sweetest chick ever, but like, she is so hateable.
It's the same thing with Shayna Baszler. Like,
yeah, but Shayna's a real dick though. Like Ronda's a nice person. Shayna's a dick.
Yeah, but see, the difference is with those two is that, like I said, Ronda's silent but deadly. Shayna, like, when you see Shayna, you're just like, I don't know if I even should say happy birthday to her. She might hurt me.
Absolutely.
And Shayna, she's more able to express how she feels verbally, where Ronda's just like, I'm not saying anything, I don't care. So that's a dangerous side to her too. And watching that Max NXT, and of course people was upset about that, but I was just like,
Great match.
Shayna Baszler, like, I enjoyed it. Everybody else hated it. I enjoyed it, and I wrote about it this week. But the main reason why I enjoyed it is because they made Shayna Baszler look the way she's supposed to look. And when she was on the Indies wrestling, anybody she went against, didn't matter if you was a 10-year pro, she hurt them, and they looked hurt. And that's what she's supposed to do. That's what I'm supposed to see from Shayna Baszler. And it's going to be the same thing with Ronda. I don't know who they're going to throw in there with first, but if you're going to keep that mystique and show that she is dangerous, you got to make me believe it. And her being ballsy like that is the same thing with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, when he first came in that company, his size alone had you backing up.
Absolutely.
And so no one wanted no part of Brock back in the day. And he was a greenhorn, as they would say.
Mm-hmm.
But now he has a UFC title reign on him and stuff like that. It's just like, oh my God, you've gotten scarier since the last decade. So
More legitimate.
And now, even though, like you said, we don't see him much, they haven't really done much with him, you still have that fear factor in you that this is Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely a draw. For me personally, as a wrestling fan, I want to. If Brock Lesnar is going to be if Brock Lesnar is in the WWE, I want to see Brock Lesnar in the WWE.
Right.
That's just me. That's just me personally. I understand. Like, a lot of people love that mystique about Brock. Like, we got Heyman. He can talk for him. You know what I mean?
I will say this, and it's very true. This is my beef with Shinsuke Nakamura. Certain wrestlers, the more you see them, the more they don't feel special anymore. Like Shinsuke doesn't feel special now because we see him every Tuesday. When he was on NXT, we saw him maybe twice a month, maybe, and it felt special every time you saw him. And so certain wrestlers are like that. So with Brock, even if he was willing to wrestle a more full-time schedule, I wouldn't want to see him every week because it don't feel special.
Right.
Especially
that's been my gripe.
Yeah. Especially seeing as, what he's been, like he was full-time, he left, got bigger, and came back. So it doesn't feel like he's just a regular, I'm just a regular wrestler on the roster. Like he feels different.
And the thing is with Brock is that, when you look at his accolades, everything he did in his first year in that company was unheard of.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did everything. He went to MMA, conquered that. No one thought he was going to.
Conquered football, never played it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's one of those people, you're just like, Jesus Christ, if we gave him a baseball bat, are we sure he's going to not hit us with it or hit the ball? Like, you're terrified because you don't want to know that he's going to conquer that.
Yeah.
And he's one of those beasts that's able to beat anything that's in front of him. I wonder how he is on video games. He is probably a monster.
Well, he probably sucks because he probably breaks the damn controller every second.
Well, hold on, no. Has he mastered the shooting star press yet?
I don't think he'll ever try to master that again. He learned his lesson.
I don't need him to do that no more.
I had to take a little shot at Brock there, but he's kind of like almost like Bo Jackson. Like you feel like he could just do anything. Like,
absolutely, right. Yes.
And with him, like, I get the whole thing. You want to see him more often, and it's because a lot of us that are, been watching wrestling for years, especially if you've been watching all the television programs for a number of years, you're used to seeing your current champion every week, every night, So we're spoiled to that. And where we're getting Brock, he's just like, excuse me, it's the 3rd of September. No, I will be there on the 15th. I'm not coming this week. He's doing it because he doesn't have to do that. He can remain champion and still put that fear in you that, I mean something. It's like, it reminds me of The Undertaker in the 90s.
Sure.
Undertaker would take 6 months off. No one knew where the hell he was because, on television, he's supposed to be a zombie, dead. He rises up from the grave when he feels like it.
Yeah.
So it felt normal. Then when you would hear that music, you'd just be like, oh my God, I don't know who did it, what's going on, but now he's here. So to see Brock Lesnar come out of nowhere and beat the man that's had us scared for years lets you know that he ain't nothing to play with.
I still haven't recovered from that, by the way.
My eyes jumped out of my head.
I was there.
I couldn't put it together in words that I just saw that. Like, did you really just do that?
That's how you feel. Imagine how we felt there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
the
would.
crowd was silent.
we
It felt like
it was dead silent. Yes. If
it looked like a funeral for real.
if
Like
you've
I
ever seen air leave a room, it felt like all the air left the room.
watching it at home, watching it and seeing how it was just you could tell it was a moment because the whole arena was quiet. And it felt like, because I remember sitting there being like, now, isn't this funny? Undertaker's supposed to be dead, rises up from grave, and he's at a funeral. Isn't that something? He could be at a
Irony.
funeral. Like, isn't that something?
Irony. And
Paul Bear's not even here for this.
the most underrated part of that entire package is the fact that WWE didn't play music for like 30 seconds
Right.
to make you really think, did this shit just happen? Because normally after somebody wins, music plays instantly. No, they let it sit, and we were like, yo, this ain't real, is it? This didn't happen. Yes, it
I don't.
was. It was
I don't.
it was an amazing thing to remember and to say I was there for that. It's crazy.
I don't want. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
His feelings are hurt. Okay,
It still hurts.
and before we move on, I do want to point out one more thing that neither of us said. Yes, Ronda comes with a bit of a reputation.
Hmm.
Yes, Ronda comes with a bit of a interesting backstory. But one thing we have to remember: not only was she a fan of this, but she was personally endorsed by Rowdy Piper. She
Right.
Yes.
she not only did she love him growing up, but Rowdy Piper loved her, treated her like one of his daughters, gave her the use of his nickname, and his son gave her the jacket that she wore Sunday. That's actually Piper's jacket that he wore to the ring. So
Yeah.
more than her being a fan, the fact that one of the greatest of all time personally endorses her means that you can't say nothing to her about me. You can't say nothing to her
Right.
about me.
And
You
on
can't.
top of that, that is a good ass leather jacket because this lasted all those years.
Yes. Well, you know,
I didn't think about
look at
that.
all the sequins that your boy Flair got. They was making money back then.
I'm just saying, like, it lasted all of that time. You know, leather over time cracks. You
That's the good
know,
stuff.
you
Maybe
know,
that's that Canadian
Piper
leather.
should let us know where he went and got that joint before he went out of here. You know.
We need to bring this to an end, but before we go, I do want to get your thoughts real quick on what do you think about the first ever women's elimination chamber? Like doors are being kicked down for real, for real. And I do think now that they've revamped the elimination chamber and it is safer, it makes them more comfortable. 'Cause that old chamber was like, listen to the guys talk about it. They said it was hell. This new chamber
Hmm.
is still hell, but it's safer. Like it's not chain on the ground, it's wood. And but but nonetheless, I could give a damn if it was if it was whatever. Like the fact that the women get a chance to be put in a match that's been consistently thought of as the most dangerous match the company has is a huge step. So what you guys think of that real quick?
I'm I'm actually terrified to see this because I'm not a fan of hardcore wrestling. I know a lot of people love hardcore wrestling, but I cannot sit up and watch like death matches with light tubes and stuff. It just, for me as a human being, I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
We are
Uh,
on the same page right there.
Absolutely. And there's
so
a level you can get, but like when you start getting the depth tubes and glass and stuff, like you
yeah,
got me.
I'm not wrestling in a ring with barbed wire. I'm not doing it. We're not having that type of party. So getting to see this actually play out will be something of just like, wow, it's happening for real. Like they are really going full out with the women.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to see it. I just want to see if they let the women really go insane inside the chamber.
Well, with the woman that's supposed to be in it, well, first and foremost, if Sasha Banks is in, she's gonna try to kill herself anyway. We know
Oh
this.
yeah,
We know
she's
this.
gonna be the one busted open.
Yes, she'll be the one, and she's gonna dive from the top of the damn cage or the cell. Some kind of way, she's gonna jump on a pod and dive. We know this. This is Sasha. She just doesn't like her life for some reason and wants to do these crazy things. But I do think they'll go all out. And if Mandy and Sonya are gonna be in it as rumored, I really think this will be a star-making moment for those girls because
Mhm.
Mandy has a great look and she's better than she shows because I've seen her on live events. And Sonya Deville, like that woman really has the total package, I think, and she's still putting it together. But when we talk about Sonya in 2 years, like Sonya is somebody that can like really maybe not be the top woman in the company, but she could be up there because she has so much in the package, and she's believable, that she's a real life fighter, and like I really like her. So I think the components are there to be something special, more than just the spectacle it will be. I think it could be an actually special match too. Carl, what do you think?
Yeah. Um, First of all, I agree with pretty much everything you guys are saying. I'm really looking forward to it because it's another one of those, and I say this so I can get to a broader point. This is, it's another one of those firsts, right? The first women's Hell in a Cell, the first women's Royal Rumble, the first Elimination Chamber. And I won't, without naming names, and I don't usually do stuff like this, but without naming names, I've had friends of my own, personal friends, comment on anything they can do to be negative about the women doing something that the men do. It seems like it's so common now. Like when we had the women's Royal Rumble, and I saw that they were planning to make it go on last, it was like I sent that in a group text to some friends, and it was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, really? What's the big deal? And so same thing with the Elimination Chamber. Someone breaks the news, and a buddy of mine is like, really? Like, everything's the first ever? Well, yeah, because
There's never
it's the
been
first
one.
ever.
It's never been
There's
one
never
before.
been one, and if it bothers you so
Exactly.
fucking much, it'll be over in a month, and then never again will there be another first ever. Okay, like, to me, and I hate to be this way, but it's like, what does it matter? Why does that bother you so much? You know, like,
Right.
to me, it's a great thing, like, because we're finally showing that for so many years, like, it felt like people used to make fun of the women's division, the Divas division, as the piss
Yeah.
break, right? Like, this was what people did, and now they're making these women just as legitimate as everyone else, and that matters. And like,
Hmm.
it's another aspect of wrestling to love. Like, if you love wrestling, why are you down on this? This is another reason to love it. And
Yeah.
so,
It's crazy.
totally looking forward to it. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see how Sasha tries to kill herself, of course, like always, because she's crazy.
Hmm.
And I think it's gonna be great. You know, we got to do these things. You know,
Right.
the women have proven they deserve it. You know, there's nothing more to say about it, really.
Yeah.
They deserve this opportunity and this moment. So let's let them have it, and then, you know, from
Let
then
it be
on out,
normal.
yeah, it's just make
That's
it normal.
the
And when it
thing.
becomes normal, you know, we don't think about it anymore. It's just like,
Right.
yeah, the women are gonna have their match. Cool. They do
That's
I
this
never
every
get
year.
I never understood where people get mad where they have to put the first ever women's thing, and it's like you said, it's never been done before. The women have been shunned from a lot of things in that company for years, going back to the 80s. You know what I'm saying? And then, if you read up on stuff online, that, it was even more restricted in the 70s and 60s, women wrestling worldwide. So to see that they get to do these things, and yes, it's annoying when you keep hearing it over and over, but you have to put it out there because, one, if you look at their audience now, uh when I watched one of their I think it was Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago, I had to pause the DVR, and I was just like, wow, I don't remember this being a thing. There is a lot of young girls in that audience now. So
Yes.
this is not just important to wrestling fans, it's important to them little girls that this is a moment to them, because this is going to last with them forever. Like I said with me, when I was telling you guys off air, Sable and Jacqueline, I remember that women's title match because it happened on my birthday, for one. But
Okay.
to me, watching that meant something. It meant something important. I remember when Trish won the title the first time. You know, you have to do those things to let them know that this is important just as anything else in this company. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I
you,
mean,
you
barriers have to be broken. I mean, you
right.
talk about like me and Rance, for instance. We are both fathers
The two
Hmm.
daughters
of two daughters, both of us. So
each.
that is four young ladies growing up in a world, you know. And I can point to this, even though it's wrestling, whatever. I can point to a lot of different things in this world and be like, you can do this shit too.
Well,
This isn't a man's world. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can
well,
do
hold on,
anything.
Carl. Let me tell you. Can I tell you a story real quick? Just real quick.
Sure.
I've
Yeah.
tried to get my oldest daughter is 9. Her name is McKinley.
Hmm.
I've tried to get her to watch wrestling with me forever, forever. She
Yeah.
would watch it just because I was watching it, but the second I turned my head, or I have sleep apnea, so I'd fall asleep or whatever it was, she'd leave.
Right.
Well, I took her to an NXT show, and she saw women, and she was like, "Women wrestle?" I was like, "Yeah." So one day we're watching. In fact, I'll tell you what it was. It was right before the women's Money in the Bank match, and she was
Yeah.
watching it with me, and she saw Carmella come out, and she said, "Daddy, women really wrestle?" I say, "Yeah, baby, there's
Yeah.
women wrestling just like anything else. I like this." I like her favorite wrestler is Carmella because, of course, Carmella's
That's
cool, wears the Jordans and all that stuff, right?
She's
And to
fabulous.
this day, she's not only does she watch wrestling with me anytime she can, she asks me about it. She wants to go to another show. She'll play the game with me. She's into it, but she wouldn't watch it because she didn't think it was for girls. So what
right.
they're
Yeah.
doing right now affects me on a personal level more than most
Right.
people could ever understand.
And
Absolutely.
I can speak to that too, just like your daughter. I had the same thought when I first got into wrestling, because you know, I was watching WCW first and I didn't see no women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I didn't think women got in the ring. And then when I started watching both programs, that's when I was just like, oh, this is a thing. Like, this actually happens. And that sticks with you. And that really pushed me into getting more involved in women's wrestling because I wanted to know if this is just not just something I see on television, but this is an actual real thing. And all of these things that they're doing right now are important to making everyone see that this does matter. It's not just a paper champion. This is a woman in our company holding a belt. I remember when China won the Intercontinental belt and how
Huge.
big that was and how she was on every magazine cover. So,
Yeah.
this is a big moment. We're on the brink of this becoming a bigger thing than what we're just seeing on television.
I think we should leave it at that. I just want to kind of put a bow on it. Guys, equality is important in this world. And just because something isn't important to you or doesn't have any relevance to you doesn't mean it doesn't to somebody else. This is a time in this world where we all need to be more cognizant of that more than ever. You don't have to like it, but at least understand why it's there. So
Yeah.
for what
There's
WWE has
something for
done,
everyone now.
yes, I applaud them. I'm thankful that it's finally gotten to this point that they finally did it. We can complain all day long about how they haven't, but let's appreciate the fact that they're there. With that being said, Sierra, thank you. We're gonna do this again soon, definitely. And next time we'll just shoot the shit and just talk about whatever you want to talk
Hmm.
about. Um, but we gotta get out of here. We got lives. Carl has kids. I
Yep.
have kids.
Ugh. I tell you
Um,
what.
so let's do this. Give them your information. Tell them where they can find you. Whatever you want to say
Uh,
to the people.
you guys can find me on Twitter at CIARA92189. I write about women's wrestling, and if you see me post a link to an article, check it out. I cover women's wrestling, not just WWE, what happens in TNA, Impact Wrestling, whatever they're called this week, because they change their names like light bulbs. Uh,
Right.
I cover, I cover women's wrestling in Japan, Puerto Rico, anywhere, anything. So I
And
cover a wide spectrum.
for the record, guys, I didn't want to introduce her because I wanted to introduce herself to do it justice. But she's not a women's wrestling expert, just that. She's a
Yeah,
wrestling expert that just happens to be well versed in women's wrestling. So don't put her in a box. She
please
doesn't
don't.
Yeah.
deserve that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
What?
don't mind talking about women's wrestling, but I just want people to understand that I'm not just in wrestling and got involved in it for one thing. I got into it because I love it all.
Well, it's a good way to introduce you, and then as we go along, bring you on more often.
Hmm.
We don't have to
Absolutely.
talk about. We can talk about anything.
You're
To
you're gonna
be
be a
to
regular. Yes.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and 100% say that you are way more into wrestling and know way more about wrestling than I know. Okay, that's you've probably forgotten more about wrestling than I know at this. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
that's I feel that when we've had these conversations and stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But you guys, it's such an honor to have you on here, and I hope everybody actually follows and when you're listening, don't just say, "Oh yeah, she's throwing out her Twitter handle." No,
Follow her.
do it.
Yeah.
Because you might actually learn something. You might get some good information that you didn't know. You might read something that you didn't think you would normally read. That's the whole point of this. That's why we throw out all our bullshit. So
And
I'm just
this
gonna
is
throw out mine real quick.
and real quick. This is coming from two pretty tenured columnists.
Yeah.
Pretty
Hmm.
pretty. We're not famous, but we're pretty decently known, and we're
Yeah.
saying like she's better than us. Like
Well, it's
follow
not.
her stuff.
And I
I mean,
appreciate the compliments because, I'm not one of those people that like has like, a ego. and that's selfish for my own right in wrestling. I just, you know, I love wrestling all around. I cover women's wrestling because that is something with wrestling that I've always just loved and enjoyed, and I've stuck with it for a number of years because
Yeah.
of my love and admiration for it. And you know, it's I told you guys off air that this is my last year covering it and stuff like that. And when I made that announcement on Twitter and seeing all the feedback I got, and then seeing some wrestlers even say it to me, and I was just like, first of all, I had to sit there and I was just like, wait, you read my stuff? And I mean, I've interacted with a few of them, but it just also just put in my mind that, like, what I've been doing isn't just something that, a lot of people do. I took an interest in it and I ran with it for a long time. So, if people have a legitimate respect for me, I thank them for it, because this has been a heck of a journey that's just been so fun from beginning to end. And I haven't had a moment where I hated it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Go ahead, Karl.
So
Sorry about
I'll let Rance close us. So you can find me on Twitter at KERVINSMC. Just hit the follow button, man. That's cool. I don't really do a lot of other social media. Don't have Facebook, don't have Instagram, don't have Snapchat, all that bullshit. So that's where you're gonna find me. Maybe one day I'll write again on Lords of Pain, but until that moment, comes,
That's funny.
I'm enjoying this avenue a lot more right now. So we'll just do the Twitter thing and the podcast thing. Rance, you can take us home, sir.
You can also find Karl on Plenty of Fish at Sexy Face Karl.
No, sir.
I'm just kidding.
He don't want those fish.
He don't want those fish at all.
Absolutely not.
He's very happily married.
Yes. Good
okay,
Lord.
so all right, let me run this down. You can follow the podcast at the SMC Podcast. You can follow the podcast network at Social Suplex. Follow Ricky and Clive at Ricky and Clive. Follow One Nation Radio at One Nation Radio. Follow Keeping It Strong Style at KI Strong Style. Follow our brother Caleb at SMC _ Cal B. You can follow your boy at It's Ray Cash, REY as in Mysterio, CASH as in dollar signs. The Social Suplex Podcast Network t-shirt giveaway is over for now. Shout out to Kyle Morris. He's the guy who won. You can also, Kyle's a deserving guy.
Hey, before you say one more thing, and I hate to do this, but we're closing here. Do not follow Ricky and Clive right now, because not until after Sunday, because one of them is an Eagles fan, and I will not have that on this podcast. Go Patriots this Sunday.
This is
all right.
He doesn't like the Eagles because he's a Cowboys fan, so he's a bit bitter.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
I don't do football, so it doesn't matter to me.
Well, just know that both teams are bad. That's all you need to know.
Yes.
You can listen to the podcast on anything you get your podcasts on: Stitcher, Apple Music, Google Play, Podbean is where we host them, so that'd be perfect. At Social Suplex Podcast Network, listen to us, give us give us a good rating. As Jeremy would say, put us over, give us that 5-star Dave Meltzer special. Leave us a comment. You can email us at thesmcpodcast@gmail.com. Man, just hit us up. We love interaction. Let us know who you want to get on the podcast, because this is for y'all. Like, if it was just for us, we never would have started recording and just talked. So yeah, this is for y'all. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know who you want on the podcast. I'm sure we'll be having a mailbag again with your guys' questions. But with that being said, anybody else want to say anything else before we get out of here?
Anybody? I just want to say thanks for listening. Really enjoyed this. It was good talking to you, Ciara. And I just want to, give the old God bless to everyone. That's it.
That's it. Thank you guys for listening. We'll holler at y'all later.